When shopping for groceries, you may have noticed a strange little label on your food. The label shows a cute little butterfly resting on a plant. Next to it, the word saying, Non-GMO Project Verified. In your head, you think you're making the right choice by buying it. But are you? GMOs, genetically modified organisms, have been a controversial topic ever since they were created in 1994. However, they will likely be a part of future generations, so it's important to be knowledgeable about this. Many people think organic food is better, but GM food is better for a developed civilization by increasing the food supply, making farming more convenient, and by being just as safe as organic food. By reading about GMOs, I found out things I did not know before. Also, as an aspiring scientist, I want to solve problems our civilization faces and make sure it lasts for the future. With that out of the way, let's talk about GMOs. First, I'll talk about how they increase the food supply. Second, how they make farming more convenient. And third, I'll go over the common belief that GMOs are unhealthy and show why this is false. So let's talk about how they increase the food supply. First, we have to talk about genes and gene editing. Genes make up DNA, which are like instructions that tell cells to produce proteins. By editing an organism's genes, scientists can choose which proteins will be produced. By selecting specific genes, scientists can make more resilient organisms. When applied to crops, this can increase the crop yield. A reviewed journal titled Public Acceptance of Plant Biotechnology and GM Crops by Jan M. Luck states, when using biotech crops, crop yield rose by 22%. This shows how GM crops increase the food supply. Another example is with pigs. Pigs can contract an infection known as porcine reproductive and respiratory syndrome, PRRS. If a pig contracts this, it poses a risk to all other pigs in that population, meaning they must all be euthanized. However, an article titled The Science of GMOs by the Purdue University College of Agriculture states gene editing techniques have managed to produce pigs that are more resilient to this disease, which means less waste and more food. As we see, GMOs can reduce waste and increase the food supply. Now let's see how they make farming more convenient. It has been shown that GM crops can save farmers time. A section of the book titled GMO Food, a Reference Handbook by David E. Newton goes over the advantages of GMOs, stating, the use of GM crops may also reduce farmers' dependence on chemical fertilizers and pesticides. By not having to apply these chemical fertilizers and pesticides, farmers save both time and energy. Also, GM crops can save the hassle of using herbicides, with Luck stating, farmers benefit from facilitated weed control with herbicide-tolerant sugar beet, which saves both time and expense. Using genetically modified crops, farming becomes less of a hassle. Now let's look at the common belief that GMOs are unhealthy. It is thought that since GMOs are new, there is no evidence saying that GMOs are safe. Remember that butterfly logo I mentioned from the Non-GMO Project? Well, they released an article titled GMO Facts, stating, in the absence of credible independent long-term feeding studies, the safety of GMOs is unknown. However, although it is true that the long-term effects on human health of GMOs are unknown, current studies show that there are no health risks to consuming GMOs. A news release from the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine titled Genetically Engineered Crops, Experiences and Prospects states, when comparing GM crops to non-GM crops, a study found no substantiated evidence of a difference in risk to human health. Later on, the source says that GMOs can actually benefit human health. Yes, you heard me right. The source goes on to say, several GE crops are in development that are designed to benefit human health. So today we looked at how GMOs can increase the food supply, make farming more convenient, and might actually be better for you. Although it is true that GMOs are not perfect, and this issue has many nuances. We should not be afraid of them and try to avoid something we do not understand. GMOs will be a part of our future, and we must continue to study them.